Hi everyone. Okay, so this video is for teachers and setting up the expectations for their students in classroom. I worked with many different teachers and many different classrooms and worked with many different behaviors. So I've seen lots of different expectations and strategies, and I've seen where teachers have done a great job in terms of setting things up, and I've seen where the classrooms should have been a little better, or the expectations were not set clear immediately, and all that. So, as in a classroom, when it comes to different type of behaviors, you have a different type of learners and different type of attitudes, different type of backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, different type of languages that people speak. So, you have to differentiate exactly what you have to learn so much about your students, learn how you learn their habits, learn their techniques, and learning, and see if you can learn their learning habits, meaning if you can understand and interpret it, also knowing their profiles. Of course, all these come into place, but there's a one thing that it's expected that it's very important is to set the rules and expectations immediately, and to set the routines as fast as you can. Now, does the routine going to happen immediately right away? No, it's going to take some time for those routines to kick in and for the students to know where things are and what they need to do and what they're supposed to do. In terms of behaviors and the students, if you see two students they're not getting along and they're always getting into some kind of argument or they're talking to each other, it is very important to start either addressing that behavior immediately or start figuring out where you're going to move them, where you have to separate these two students. Or if you have to change and adjust and learn what the students need. Now, some students might learn quicker, some students might learn not at the same pace. You have to support those students that are not on the same level, that are either IEP or have some kind of disability that is preventing them to learn on a regular normal pace like all other students. So you have to either modify that, you have to help them out and support them, and and see so they do not fall behind. um, I think I think the most challenging thing about teaching is that you have so many different students and so many different students on so many different levels, and to bring that level playing field is very hard. You do not want to slow down the students that are learning, that have advanced academic learning, but you do not want to disregard the students who are not doing so well. So all these have to be balanced, but the behavior is most important because the behaviors in classroom could be so disruptive, and it can disrupt all the learning in classroom. So setting the expectations, rewarding good behavior. if if it's necessary, the good behavior should be rewarded with maybe having a recess with that, maybe having a lunch with that student, or maybe providing them extra 5 minutes to calm down, or giving them a little walk, or teaching them how to come and ask for help before the things are escalated. Um, Also trying to keep them on task and things that they need to do. I think the rewarding. I think just like I was saying to parents, is reward the good behavior, and I think that applies the same to in classroom. Reward the good behavior. Reward when there are things that student is doing, and it's supposed to be what they when they're doing what they're supposed to do. But at the same time, you do not want to bring that child, because you do not want to reward for the behavior for something that the student is doing what everybody else is doing, meaning everybody else is doing it but that student is getting a reward. um, that's a little tricky, because students that are doing their work, well, then why they don't get the reward? And this is a little tricky thing to balance in classroom, because you want students to have to earn rewards, So I think the rewards should be specifically modified to student, and I think not just for students that are advanced or students that do not want to learn anything, but I think it should be uh, um, modified to fit the student's profile and what they're learning and how they're learning. Um, but behavior, expecting the behavior, I would never get into a what is it called? Power struggle. That's what the student wants. They want to argue with you. They want this. They want that. You want to avoid that. That's like they're going to challenge you. The more you challenge them, you want to avoid that. So you have to change. You have to say to the student, maybe you need to take a walk, or maybe you need time to calm down. Maybe you need this, you need that. So I would not challenge the student in to get into a power struggle. I mean, it's different if it's an unsafe behavior. Unsafe behavior is that you evacuate a class, you call for the support, but you evacuate a class, and the student remains in classroom. Because if you remove the student, then the student is going to learn, oh, look, this is what I need to do to get out of the classroom. You don't want that. So you want student to still remain in classroom and evacuate a class. And I know that's counterproductive to other students, but these kinds of behaviors tend to be disruptive on a daily basis. Not on a daily basis, but at least few times in an hour. And so you do not want to say, oh, look, I want that student removed. Maybe the student in a way should be removed is going for a walk, taking a breaks, give them a 5 minute. If the student feels better that that student should work in a hallway, then you have them sitting in a hallway next to your classroom door, and have them do that. But you do not want to enable that student to continue with that kind of behavior. And sometimes it's easier to have the student leave the classroom. It's no question about it. But it does not benefit that student on the long run, because then that student learns, oh, this is what I need to do. This is how I'm going to get it done. And they negatively learn, in a negative way, they learn how to use that. So you would just get them out of the classroom. And then they're not learning anything. But you want to, if they need to leave the classroom, maybe you give them that task and they can complete it in the hallway on a quiet environment, or take a 5-minute walk, 2-minute walk, take a breather, have them take a little break. If there is an issue with learning, or there's a disability that challenges that kind of learning, maybe you could sit with that student or modify in some sense, or maybe create bigger steps of scaffold for the student, so the student is not frustrated because he or she is not is not catching up with the work and is getting frustrated, and just things are getting worse for the student. And I would also consider that these students, when we do not know, as teachers, we do not know what's going on at home. Sometimes we do, but even if we do, there's so much you can do at home. You can reach out to parents and all that stuff, and you have to be very careful how you reach out to them and what you say to them, because this is their child and it's a very sensitive issue. So you want to be very careful with reaching out to parents. This is about teacher, but maybe I will discuss a little more strategies in terms of my experience and things that I'm learning and studying, so I can share with you guys. All right, that's it for right now. Bye.